Front and Center. A focus on important and significant developments affecting the lives of Filipinos, not only in the Philippines, but also those living and working around the world. Join us in Front and Center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Welcome to Front and Center, where we focus on developments in the Philippines, legislation that provides policies and directions that strives to promote a better economy for the country, issues that concern the welfare and well-being of every Filipino. All of these and more will be Front and Center. You can watch this program live on our Facebook page, Radyo Pilipinas World Service, and you can also hear us live on our audio streaming at Evox PBS receiver app. So join us for another edition of Front and Center with your host, Jerome Toledo.
Front and Center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. and First Lady Liza Araneta Marcos are in Cambodia for a 3-day state visit upon the invitation of His Majesty King Norodom Sihamoni to strengthen bilateral ties between the two countries. Upon the arrival, the President and First Lady were welcomed by Cambodian officials at the Phnom Penh International Airport on Sunday. And President Marcos Jr. last night has met more than 7,000 Filipinos living and working in Cambodia in a Filipino community event there. So that's his first line of business, or first order of business rather, when he goes there in Cambodia for a state visit. And today, President Marcos Jr. will meet with Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Manet to discuss a range of issues, including diversifying trade, enhancing cooperation against transnational crime, and boosting tourism. And the talks will also cover collaboration in agriculture, higher education, and air travel. The president is expected to meet then, aside from Hun Manet, is the Senate President Hun Sen, and will hold a roundtable with business leaders from both countries to foster deeper investment partnerships. And the visit of President Marcos Jr. in Cambodia is a reciprocal gesture. Following the Cambodian Prime Minister's trip, that's Hun Manet to the Philippines earlier this year, particularly in February 2025. And also during his state visit in Cambodia, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. praised the Filipino community in Phnom Penh, calling them heroes for their contributions to both the Philippines and their host country. Speaking at the Grand Sofitel Ballroom in Phnom Penh, the president recognized their hard work and sacrifices of our Filipino kababayans in Cambodia, emphasizing that Filipinos are at the heart of the strong relationships between Phnom Penh and Manila. The president's 3-day visit, that's running from September 7 to 9, aims to strengthen ties in key areas like trade, business, and regional security. And President Marcos Jr. Also plans to meet with business leaders to encourage investments and partnerships with Filipino companies. And this is his second time meeting with the Filipino community in Cambodia. Around 7,500 Filipinos live and work in the country, many of them professionals in education and service. And also during his visit to the country, or to the Southeast Asian country, President Marcos Jr. has directed the Department of Migrant Workers to create and establish a Migrant Workers Office, or MWO, in Phnom Penh. Speaking before the Filipino community in Cambodia, the president stated that the new office will serve as a vital hub, providing direct assistance such as legal support, as well as welfare aid and reintegration programs. The president emphasized the crucial role of OFWs in strengthening the economic and diplomatic ties between the Philippines and Cambodia. He acknowledged the significant contributions in key sectors of Filipinos there in Cambodia, including schools, hospitals, businesses, and even major infrastructure projects like the new international airport rather. The president, joined by the first lady and several cabinet members, also reaffirmed his government's dedication to improving the lives of every Filipino. And he assured the community that his administration is working towards building a stable, comfortable, and new Philippines or bagong Pilipinas for them to return to.
Front and center. Front and center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
And more stories and developments here in the Philippines as Front and Center returns after these short messages. You're listening to Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Mas pinadali na ang government transactions sa tulong ng eGov.ph Super App. Pwedeng-pwede mo nang magawa ang lahat ng ito. I-download ang eGov app sa iyong smartphone o tablet mula sa App Store o Google Play Store. Pagkatapos, ilagay ang iyong mobile number at i-authenticate gamit ang one-time PIN o OTP para marehistro ang iyong account. Saka ilagay ang iyong mga pangunahing impormasyon at kumpletuhin ang facial recognition technology para sa verifikasyon ng iyong pagkakakilanlan. Para sa mas mabilis at mas maayos na serbisyong panggobyerno, gamitin na ang eGov.ph Super App.
Itinuloy na po natin ang zero balance billing. Libre po. Ibig sabihin, ang serbisyo sa basic accommodation sa ating mga DOH na ospital, wala nang babayaran ang pasyente.
Po, ang dami pong challenge, hindi po namin alam kung saan namin kukunin, ganon, nag-iisip kung paano namin mababayaran. Siyempre po, masayang-masaya, super saya po dahil na zero billing po kami. Opo, malaking malaking tulong po. Mabilis lang din po.
Bayad na ang bill ninyo. Uulitin ko, wala nang kailangan bayaran ng pasyente basta sa DOH Hospital dahil bayad na po ang bill ninyo.
Naiyak ako kasi sobrang saya. Maraming salamat po, Mr. President Bongbong Marcos Jr. Hindi kami nagkamali ng taong ihinalal.
Garantisadong solusyon at aksyon ang handog sa iyo ng Bagong Pilipinas Presidential Action Center. Sundin lang ang mga sumusunod para makakuha ng appointment. Para sa wala pang eGov.ph app account, panoorin ang video para malaman kung paano gumawa ng account. Kung meron ng account sa eGov.ph app, mag-login dito. Saka hanapin ang online registration tab para sa Bagong Pilipinas Presidential Action Center. Pindutin ito para makita ang available na government services. Piliin ang serbisyo na iyong kailangan mula sa listahan. I-upload ang requirements ng serbisyong kailangan mo. Pumili ng petsa at oras kung kailan nais pumunta sa Bagong Pilipinas Presidential Action Center. I-submit na ang iyong application at bigyan ng pagkakataon na ma-review ang iyong isinumiteng requirements. Hintayin ang QR code para sa kumpirmasyon ng iyong schedule. Makakatanggap ka ng text message para malaman kung naaprubahan ito. Sakaling hindi ito maaprubahan, makakatanggap ka rin ng text message para ipaalam ang kulang na requirements, saka subukang mag-register ulit. Kung nakatanggap na ng kumpirmasyon, maaari nang pumunta sa Bagong Pilipinas Presidential Action Center sa napiling schedule, dala ang QR code at ang mga isinumiteng requirements. Huwag kalimutang dumating sa itinakdang araw at oras ng iyong appointment. Pinapaalala rin na siguruhing may kumpirmadong schedule bago pumunta sa Bagong Pilipinas Presidential Action Center para maiwasang magpabalik-balik. Simple at user-friendly ang pagpapa-appointment dito, kaya wag nang mangamba dahil sa Bagong Pilipinas Presidential Action Center, tulong ay abot kamay na.
Front and center. Front and center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Welcome back to Front and Center here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service with me, Jerome Toledo. The Department of Public Works and Highways is ensuring the transparency and proper use of its public funds. Last week, or I'm sorry, let's see here. Malacanang has reminded lawmakers. I'm sorry about that. Malacanang reminded lawmakers from the House of Representatives to hold its members accountable for corruption in public works projects, particularly in flood control. Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin said through a statement pushing back against attempts by some House members to blame the executive branch for the anomaly. Bersamin said the members of the cabinet will not tolerate any attack on the integrity and reputation of the executive branch. Executive Secretary Bersamin emphasized that the investigation into these projects will be useless if the sources of corruption within the House are not addressed. So, Executive Secretary Bersamin also imparted that the House should clean its own house first. And President Marcos Jr. is set to create an independent commission to continue the investigation and has ordered a review of the proposed 2026 budget for the Department of Public Works and Highways, or DPWH. And that's to ensure the transparency and proper use of public funds. Last week, certain House Party leaders, through Antipolo City 1st District Representative Ronaldo Puno, has recommended to toss the national budget proposal back to the Department of Budget and Management, which in effect the executive department, they are tossing it back to the DPM and to the executive branch for another review. And Representative Puno has expressed concern over of what he called a poorly constructed 2026 national expenditure program because, as he said, lawmakers who happens to have a budgetary powers do not know how to deal with it. And the lawmaker from Antipolo City had earlier flagged the budget proposal for allegedly having allocations for infrastructure projects, or meaning to say there's an insertion of the project that had already been completed, which Representative Marcy Chudoro earlier discovered the anomaly. And however, the day after, the same party leaders at the House withdrew their recommendations.
Front and center. Front and center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Meanwhile, on some other stories, Presidential Communications Office Secretary Dave Gomez has promised to fix the deteriorating condition of facilities at the state-owned People's Television Network, or PTV, which PCO supervises. That's in response to a recent criticism from Mike Abe, which happens to have his program over PTV4. Secretary Gomez said that he has seen the problems firsthand, which Mr. Abe raised during his broadcast, including the leaky roofs and broken air conditioners. He stated that he has already requested funding from the Congress to rehabilitate the network, and PTV management has submitted a detailed proposal for the necessary repairs. And the press secretary the press secretary promise comes after Mr. Abe publicly challenged him to investigate alleged corruption and poor maintenance at the network, also highlighting that PTV employees' plight on their salaries.
Front and center. Front and center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
In the episode 4, or part 1 of his podcast, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. Candidly said that he did not regret his decision to become president. In his podcast that was aired over the weekend, the president remained his anger feeling on the corruption issue taking place in the entire government that negatively impacts the lives of ordinary, hardworking Filipinos. He specifically questioned the moral integrity of those who enrich themselves at the expense of others, as he called it, a horrible situation that has left many feeling hopeless. And despite the deep-seated nature of corruption within the government, President Marcos Jr. has assured that the public has or that reforms are underway, and that's via independent commission, and that independent commission will investigate the anomaly within the flood control projects of the Department of Public Works and Highways, and that's a form of accountability. And President Marcos Jr. stressed that loyalty to friends or political allies do not matter to him, and it will not stop him from holding people accountable. And the president became emotional, as if you watch the podcast of the president, he became emotional as he reiterated his commitment to the Filipino people, as he says that nobody is more important to him than Filipinos.
Front and center. Front and center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Still more stories and developments in the Philippines when Front and Center returns here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Time to celebrate kulturang Pinoy, tradisyon, musika, sining, literatura at iba pa. Anything and everything fun and Filipino. Ito ang Pinoy Kultura.
Ang sayaw ay mahalagang bahagi ng ating kultura. It is a universal form of self-expression, and no other dance expresses it better than ballet. Meet Alice Reyes, a Filipino dancer, choreographer, teacher, director, producer, and founder of Ballet Philippines. Alice took lessons in classical ballet at a very young age. She completed a Bachelor of Arts degree in History and Foreign Services and took postgraduate studies at Ateneo de Manila University. Alam niyo ba na noong February 1970, her dance company staged the first ever modern dance concert at the Cultural Center of the Philippines Main Theater? At noong June 2014, si Alice Reyes ay naparangalan ng highest award in the arts ng Order of National Artist of the Philippines.
Yan ang Pinoy Kultura, because our culture is cool. To know more about their life, work, and contributions, visit the National Commission for Culture and the Arts at ncca.gov.ph.
This is a public service announcement.
Maging handa sa oras ng sakuna. Para sa iyo at sa iyong pamilya, laging siguruhin, Go Bag ay nakahanda at naglalaman ng mga sumusunod. Ilang pirasong damit, ready-to-eat na pagkain at inuming aabot ng 3 araw. Personal na gamit para sa inyong hygiene. First aid kit kabilang ang alcohol, bandages, gamot sa lagnat, ubo at sipon, pati na rin ang inyong vitamins at maintenance medicines. Maglagay ng pito, flashlight, lighter o posporo. Huwag kalimutan ang mga charger o power bank. At higit sa lahat, isama ang mga importanteng gamit gaya ng inyong mga legal na dokumento, IDs, ATM o passbook, insurance at iba pa.
This is a public service announcement. Public service announcement from PBS, Presidential Broadcast Service, and Radyo Pilipinas.
Front and center. Front and center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Welcome back to Front and Center here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Still with me, Jerome Toledo, and we're running down to a few minutes of our program here at Radyo Pilipinas World Service. And meanwhile, although we have an anticipated guest today, and that's going to be from CICC, and as we are going to talk about the proliferation of deepfakes and its regulations, but unfortunately we don't have the CICC today. But we will try to reschedule their interview throughout the week. So we'll try to have CICC, or the Cybercrime Investigation and Coordinating Center. We will have them in the next few days. But in the meantime, the Department of Budget and Management, or DBM, has moved to bar the contractor or contractors linked to the anomalous flood control projects from government procurement. So this is as President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. directed the immediate blacklisting of those erring firms. And DBM Secretary Amena Pangandaman said the procurement service of the DBM, or the Department of Budget and Management, has already canceled the Philippine or the membership of 9 companies associated with businesswoman Sara Diskaya from the Philippine Government Electronic Procurement System, or PhilJEPS. So the PSNDBM is also preparing to remove more firms, including the embattled SY or SIMS or SYMS Construction Trading and the controversial Wow Builders from the registry of PhilJEPS once the Department of Public Works and Highways issues official blacklisting orders. And the move is in line with the new Government Procurement Act, or the Republic Act number 12009, which mandates that once an implementing agency blacklists a contractor, its membership with PhilJEPS will be canceled or revoked, and effectively disqualifying the firm from participating in any bidding in all government bidding activities. And PhilJEPS is as we know, is the main channel of the government when they're doing government procurement transactions. And Public Works Secretary Vince Dizon earlier promised to disqualify contractors behind the substandard or ghost project or non-existent flood control projects that's worth millions of pesos. And PSDBM Executive Director Jen Entridicho Kaong said the agency remains committed to transparency and accountability, and that is to cancel all those firms involved in anomalous flood control projects. And Secretary Pangandaman also met with Secretary Dizon to review the proposed 2026 DPWH budget as part of the wider reforms aimed at restoring public trust in the government spending, particularly in that department, the Department of Public Works and Highways.
Front and center. Front and center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
And before we go, so this is an important legislation that has already been signed by the Executive Department and has taken into effect. So this law has become, or this bill rather, has become a law as Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. signed the Republic Act number 12252, which amending the Investors Lease Act. That's RA 7652. That's allowing the foreign investors to lease private lands in the Philippines for up to 99 years. Previously, the law only permitted long-term leases for a maximum of 50 years. That's renewable once for an additional 50 years. And under the RA 12252 that was signed on September 3rd, the President may impose a shorter lease period for investors engaged in vital services or industries deemed as critical infrastructure. That's in the interest of the national security or a national development. So the measure requires that foreign investors hold an approved investment and comply with regulations set by the appropriate investment promotion agency. So this investment lease act, so that's going to be under the purview of the Department of Trade and Industry. So this law will be impactful in terms of investments, particularly in foreign investments, as our country is trying to get more investments from foreign investors. And the measure requires that foreign investors hold an approved investment and comply with regulations set by the appropriate investment promotions agency. And that's in the case of tourism projects, the lease of private lands is limited to projects with an investment of less than $5 million, 70% of which must be infused in said project within 3 years from the signing of the lease contract. And contracts may be terminated if the investor fails to begin the project within the same period. And that law clarifies that foreigners, associations, or partnerships not investing in the Philippines are still covered by Presidential Decree number 471 and other existing laws on lease of land to foreigners. And this means individuals and entities are only allowed to lease private lands for a maximum of 25 years, renewable for another period of 25 years. So this is a welcoming development for the Philippines as our country is trying to build our economy that is recovering from the pandemic and at the same time bring in more revenues to the national treasury. And that's because this law will be signed and more job opportunities will be created under that law.
Front and center. Front and center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
And just like that, we now end this edition of Front and Center here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service. And as mentioned earlier, we will have the Cybercrime Investigation and Coordinating Center in the program in the next few days, as we are going to tackle about the deep fakes, particularly the proliferation of the deep fakes and how is it affecting our the Filipinos, and what's going to be the legislation that will be implemented under this law, because this technology is becoming more rampant and becoming more notorious in terms of creating videos that is being used to manipulate public opinion, defraud individuals, and do harm on the people. So we will have the CICC in the program. But in the meantime, we will now end the program Front and Center on Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Together with our technical team, led by Ms. Susan Aizon, Hiro Lucero, and Justine Osias, this is your host, Jerome Toledo. Until next time, mabuhay.
You have just heard and watched Front and Center. Front and Center. Join us again for another edition here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Front and Center.